HS2 is really a 20th century project that's kind of irrelevant in the 21st century. The economic justification for it was never really robust, and it's been destroyed by COVID. The main justification for the economics of HS2 were the savings on journey times. And one thing I think we're going to be really clear that people have learned from COVID is how much better life is if you don't have to commute. The irreparable damage to biodiversity is going to make it really hard for the government to fulfill its pledge to leave the environment in a better state than it inherited it. It's not very good for the climate. And it really does get in the way of something that would be much more economically and environmentally better. And that's investing in the railways going across the country rather than up and down the country, especially in the north.
Have you changed your mind about this then? Has the pandemic altered your view?
Yeah, it has. When HS2 was first promoted, it struck me as maybe being a good idea because it was the investment in public transport at a time when really most of the transport policy was focused on private transport. And I thought it was a good idea. But as it became clear what would be involved in terms of damage, I began to have doubts. And then when COVID happened and it really became clear that people's lives were going to change and not change back, then I really changed my mind.
The people who defend HS2 say it wasn't really about journey times at all. It was about expanding the capacity. I mean, you could say, well, we're going to need more capacity. People may be more spread out. They'll have to have 6 people in a carriage.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't get that. If you're expanding capacity, what's it capacity for people to make more journeys? But why it's no longer any sense is because people are not going to be travelling so much. That just be completely contradictory. The reality is this is a future project whose time has already passed. And we should really focus on how do we make rail transport, which is very efficient in climate terms, how do we make that really work in those parts of the country which need investment to get the economy going, rather than basically London and Birmingham are pretty affluent parts of the country. Not a lot to be gained from making them more affluent when large parts of the country are not really doing so well.